I've just took a 40 minutes bus ride and I'm already in another country. So in Sweden I'm going to visit not only the capital but also the city of Malmö, where I am now. So in this video we will walk around Malmö and Stockholm, learn about local traditions with my Swedish friend, go to an ethnographic museum and even find something that reminds me of Russia. Let's go! If you watched my previous video about Denmark, you know how I got here. So I took a Flixbus from Copenhagen to Malmö, and for some people it is just a daily commute, like 40 minutes. But here there are two different countries and they are connected by this bridge that was mentioned in the famous series, where two police departments of both countries had to investigate a crime because it was committed exactly in the middle of the bridge. So I heard about this only from this show, but now I personally was on that bridge. The idea of this bridge is very interesting, so I decided to Google a picture of how it looks from above. So here's the picture of the bridge. It looks so cool. So this must be Denmark, and here it goes over to this. Wait, is this Sweden? Like, I thought it would be bigger. So if my final point was Malmö, it's probably somewhere here. And then I will take a train to Stockholm. Probably this is Stockholm, so I will go like this. But like, I'm confused. Where's IKEA? Where did they film the Midsummer movie? Wow, you live, you learn. I really didn't know. Am I on an island? But how did they manage to fit all these facilities, all the cities in such a small place? Wow, that's some impressive Nordic city planning. I'm shocked. I was going to go to a park, but now I'm actually walking in the middle of a cemetery. It is my first time of seeing a place like this in the city center, so it's adjacent to the big park. In Russia you would never see cemeteries in like a normal place where people walk. Usually in Russia a graveyard is a place outside of the city. Gravestones are different, they are larger and there are these big plastic wreaths and just a different color and style of monuments. Here I feel that it's okay to walk here. I feel that it is normal when a cemetery is located in a park where people relax. But in Russia it would be like a cemetery would be a very uncomfortable place to be. What a nice river. So here I'm walking in a park. It's called Slottsparken, although it was quite hard to figure its name on Google Maps because there is another park called Kungsparken, and it's just one big continuous park, and it seems that there's some big celebration. I wonder what is the purpose. Wow! I found myself amidst some big celebration. Is it Midsummer Festival? Are they going to sacrifice someone to the gods? Sorry, but I will be making a reference to this movie throughout the whole video. And there are some interesting things, and there are many kids' activities like fencing competitions and so on. Very cool. On my way to the train station, I discovered myself in some very big festival again, and there was a food court with so many different dishes. But I took beef combo from Ethiopian cuisine, which was good, but too big for me. So this is my train, and it's considered like a fancy option because it is a high-speed train and it will take me to Stockholm just for 4.5 hours instead of 8 hours by a regular train. Honestly, it doesn't look fancy from the outside in comparison with Russia trains like Sapsan or Lastishka. But of course, not all trains in Russia look like Sapsan, only between Moscow and St. Petersburg probably. And of course, I'm still a big fan of our good old Platzkart from Khabarovsk to Vladivostok that I took a lot. But yeah, I would like to see what it's like to ride this high-speed train. The journey was nice, the restroom was clean, and they even had vomit bags if you feel sick. And I didn't see such bags in trains in other European countries. And welcome to Stockholm. So what I can say about this train, it was pretty regular, but it was unusual for me that the carriage was tilting on turns, so it was doing such movements. It was very unusual. Maybe it has something to do with a different kind of rails, but yeah, it is so beautiful here, and it's almost 9 p.m. and pretty light still. And now let's explore the city of Stockholm. They have so many buildings, and even air balloons are flying above this little island. Or maybe I'm mistaken here? I don't know, but correct me in the comments. Anyway, what I know for sure is that Sweden is a birthplace of one really famous furniture store. And it's so cool that I had the opportunity to explore it with a local friend. Here I am, actually not in apartment, but in IKEA, and with my Swedish friend Josephine.
Hello everyone!
Josephine today will be my tour guide, and actually we met in Georgia.
Yes.
That's why I'm wearing this Georgian t-shirt. What you can tell me about IKEA?
Yeah, we are in IKEA, which is very symbolic since it's a Swedish furniture store. And as you see, they build up this room where you can walk around, you can sit in the sofas, lay on the bed, see the kitchen, and you can also have traditional Swedish food here, which we are about to do later on,
Yes.
and eat Swedish meatballs.
Let's go.
Yes.
I heard that in IKEA you can actually lay on the bed, but I've never believed, like, how is it real that you can do this in the store? But here, yes, I am, and I can sit here. Wow. There used to be an IKEA in Russia, but only in big cities. And this store actually was very popular, but in 2022, the company suspended its operations in Russia after the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. So this was my first time in IKEA, and it is symbolic that it happened in its homeland. Another feature of IKEA is the unusual product names. Some of them are a play of words and sound especially funny if you know Swedish.
In IKEA they also have these different words of every item, and sometimes they are very funny. And this one is called omtänksam, which means that you kind of take care of someone. And these are for the shoes when you want to put on your shoe. So this takes care of you.
Yeah, it helps you with your shoe. It's funny because in Russian we call this thing just a spoon for boots. What about this name? It says here besties.
Besties, that means best friend.
Yeah, no, besties.
Bestie.
Yeah, I see why such a thing can be a bestie for you.
Yes, exactly.
And this one looks fancier. Is it pronounced mjukplister?
Yes, you can say mjukplister. I don't know what it means, but
Okay.
I think maybe plister is the pattern or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And mjuk, it sounds
That's
something.
soft.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does sound soft.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is Swedish style though. This is just very
Yeah, it feels like, I don't know, Graf Dracula style. So this one looks like Swedish style
Yeah,
more.
this is more the Swedish style, I would say. More like beige, white, and
Yeah, it looks so minimalistic.
yeah, exactly.
So this is called,
Knorrig,
yeah.
and knorr is this thing, like the tail.
So it's like a taily
Taily pig,
piggy.
yeah.
They're so cute.
This is called like Jungle.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's elephants and lions.
Yeah.
So cute. Oh my god. You know, I was such a fan of lions as a kid. It looked like a metro map from the distance, but it's actually a map of different departments of IKEA. Where are we now? It's
We are in the red spot there, the child section of IKEA. And then
Barnens.
later we want to go towards the food.
Yay, trying the traditional IKEA Swedish meatballs. So now I have the opportunity to try out some more underground now in Stockholm and hear how it looks.
So here you see some art, and actually all the subway stations here in Stockholm are some sort of exhibition, like art exhibition. So it's an art project, and in every subway you can see different kind of art. So this one, it's some colors, and it's a bit like a cave-ish. My personal favorite is the one in Stadium, and that's like a rainbow. It's blue and then a rainbow, and I really like that one.
I like that it's simple, but also looks like some modern abstract art.
This station is called T-centralen, and we're here to change to another metro. And this is another design. It looks like builders.
Very unusual because I am used to seeing a metro in the post-Soviet countries. In Denmark it was also interesting, but here it is something else. I also want to point out this mosaic here. It's again some abstract art.
So this is a street called Hornsgatan, and it's a very cool street. It has a lot of secondhand stores. It's also ranked as one of best street, not the whole street, but a small part where we just went, because it has so many secondhand shops, thrift stores. It's very cool to just stroll around. They also have many pretty cafes and everything. And I really like this street.
And here we found a vintage store, but it's for furniture and household items. So cool. I just like how retro this book looks.
Yeah.
Serbia for some reason.
Yeah, so this area is called Maria or Mariatorget. They say Bevara Maria queer, which means like keep Maria queer, like keep this area queer.
I love this. And also we are going to go for a Swedish fika here. Or what is their correct pronunciation?
Fika.
Fika.
You said it right.
I just say fika like in Russian, but probably it's fika. Fika. So can you please tell us about this tradition?
Yes. So we have something called fika, which is the Swedish word for having coffee and a sweet treat. So the traditional Swedish fika is usually based on kanelbullar or kanelbulle, which is what you picked here. Normally it's not with those almonds, and this is something called biscuit. I guess that's not like the most traditional one to pick, but that's one of my favorites. And then you usually have filtered coffee, but it's warm outside, so we decided to take iced coffee. And yeah, this is a Swedish word that is very, like every Swedish person like fika, like it brings people together.
Is it a particular time of the day?
Usually it's around 3 o'clock, but it can be eaten whenever you want. Yes.
So cool, because I heard about this a lot, but it's my first time experiencing.
Yes.
But I still have a question. Like, there's so many buildings, but how do you guys manage to fit it all on such a small space? Like,
What do you mean?
but I mean, do you know this bridge that I was crossing from Denmark to Sweden? Like,
Yeah.
when I looked at its picture, can you Google it? Like,
Yeah, let me just Google it.
yeah. So you see here, it's Denmark, right? Then there's a bridge, and it ends on some like island. Guys, was I the only one who didn't know about this?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, I understood that I was mistaken, and Josephine explained to me that that island is not Sweden. And you know what? She also told me that the Earth is round. Can you imagine? Jokes aside, obviously Sweden is located on the Scandinavian peninsula and they have enough space for Malmö, Stockholm, celebrating midsummer. Speaking of islands, guys, did you know that Stockholm, the capital, is actually located on 14 islands? But when I first arrived in the city center, it didn't feel like I was on one of the islands. Only when you look at the map, you see these little islands. And my hotel is located on the very central island called Gamla. I didn't plan this because basically when I was booking the hotel, I didn't know where the city center is and I wanted to avoid it. And Gamla translates as the old town, and it is a nice little island with historical buildings, important museums, and these cobbled narrow streets. And probably it seems to be cool to live on such an island, but honestly I don't like it because it's uncomfortable, because there are many tourists, it's annoying. And yes, I am also an annoying tourist for them, but of course, I think I'm better than other people. But yeah, whenever I want to go to breakfast, I just go to a cafe and it's very overpriced and not of a good quality. So I would prefer to live somewhere maybe in a residential area even. But here's a trick, like I don't know how to find a place that is not that touristy, but also that it's located not in a sketchy place. And my hotel is situated in one of these old buildings, and probably it used to be some fancy apartment building because I actually don't have a restroom in my room. I share it with the neighboring rooms, and we have this nice common area. Probably this is how old apartments look. But now I came to another island. It's called Djurgården Animal Farm. I came to this island by a ferry, and in fact Google Maps wouldn't show me this route. First it showed me some route by a tram, but my friend told me that I could take a ferry there, so here I am. And here I want to visit a museum that is called Skansen. It is an open air museum where you can see how old Swedish houses looked. So let's go. So I buy the ticket and they ask me, do I want to take the funicular or hike? I said the latter, so now I have to go up, which is, well, okay. Wow, so beautiful. So we are just walking here and see the view of this water and some apartment blocks apparently. Due to the proximity to the northern part of Russia, I would assume that a lot of Swedish architecture is similar to old Russian houses, for example, this wooden house or that one. And here is another, a Swedish hay barn, particularly from the north of Sweden. But you will not fool me, because guys, this is literally a hut on the chicken legs, a house of Baba Yaga from the Slavic folklore. It's like a forest witch who can be good and bad, depending on the situation. Guys, look at this structure. Are you kidding me? Like, this exactly looks like this Russian folklore hut. And I am so shocked. I didn't know that it also existed here on the territory of Sweden. Isn't it amazing how much this resembles this traditional Russian folklore house? Because when I was growing up, I would read these fairy tales about Baba Yaga living in this hut, and I considered this hut as some cartoonish fairy tale thing. But no, actually now I understand how people came up with the idea, why they documented it in the folklore, because they saw such structures like hundreds of years ago. And oh my god, it's so amazing, especially because now I'm not in Russia. Apparently back then there were no borders and people would have like similar architecture, but yeah, it's just so amazing. But actually it is a Sami camp. So Sami is the ethnic minority, nomadic people. And it's very interesting that the Sami people live on the intersection of 4 countries: Norway, Sweden, Russia and Finland. In Russia it's particularly the north of the Kola Peninsula. And it's a very interesting people. And I some time ago watched a movie, Sami Blood, and there they told the story of these people and kind of colonization situation from the Swedish government side. And when I think about the Sami people, I feel so sorry for those who live on the territory of Russia. Imagine you live, you as a Russian citizen, but you know that you have Sami heritage and you do communicate with your people who live on the Swedish or Finnish territory, but you know that like they have better conditions than you to have their own like Congress or their cultural events, preserving their language, and they do invite the Sami people from the Russian side, because in Russia, like basically those villages in the north, and I mean close to Moscow too, in Russia villages are dying out and there's like no development. And this situation gives us the opportunity to compare different political regimes. So I googled Sami parliaments, and they exist in Finland, Norway and Sweden, but in Russia it's only a form of non-governmental organization, and their autonomy and independence and even basically a right to gather is constantly oppressed by the government, because the Russian authorities are really scared of expressing any form of individualism. So I just feel so sorry that it's only the group that lives in another country can do that. I have a Vietnamese flashbacks seeing this fence. I wish in Russia it was also used only for this purpose. Hello! Would you welcome me into your house? Okay, they might be dangerous actually, because I've lived with chickens and I know they kind. 25 euros ticket was justified. I like the concept of this place. It's a combination of museums, zoo, old farm exhibition. So it's really cool, especially for spending time with your family. So this was my video about Sweden. I hope it was interesting to watch. Thanks to my local friend Josephine for showing me around. I wish I could return there and explore the city more and the residential areas. I also like the fact that I visited another city, Malmö, and even took a train between these cities. I also took a train on my way to the airport in Stockholm, and it was a high-speed like express train, and it was really nice and smooth. And from Stockholm I took a flight to Berlin, so Germany is my next country on this channel. And by the way, regarding this photo where I mistook this piece of land for Sweden, yeah, it is a piece of soil, but it doesn't even belong to Sweden, and it's a part of Denmark, and Sweden is over there on the peninsula already. So the road of the bridge starts on the territory of Denmark, then it goes under the water, then again there's this island belonging to Denmark, and then the bridge starts. And I wonder how many people in the beginning of this video thought that I'm being serious, saying that I thought that it's Sweden. So thanks for watching, like this video, write your comments. You can also subscribe to my channel or support me by becoming my patron or a YouTube sponsor. Have a nice day or a week, and goodbye. Пока-пока.
Пока-пока.